Hello everybody, this is John from 100%mindset.com. I'm out here today to talk about the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. This book is not very long, very interesting though, in his own words I might say. But anyways, let me start the video and let me talk about Illuminati theories and New World Order that he's associated with. Of course, we know his face is on the $100 bill. We know there's a lot of, symbolisms of Masons and New World Order and Illuminati on money. Whether you believe it or not, it's conspiracy theories abound. But let's just talk quickly about that. So the Illuminati was started in like 1777 or 1776 by a German guy. It means the enlightened, or the people, conspiracy theorists might say that they're, behind things, pulling, strings or levers on the public, and they're, a new world order that's, has influence beyond government. Whatever you want to believe is up to you. But the Masons started at the same time in the U.S. So Benjamin Franklin at that time was not associated with these groups, folks. He was busy doing other things. He was civic-minded. He was in Philadelphia. That's the same time the Declaration of Independence was drafted. He signed the Declaration of Independence. He was doing a lot of other things. He was not involved with the Illuminati and the Masons at that point. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So anyways, back to early days of Ben Franklin. He was an apprentice with his brother at a printing press in Boston. Basically his brother was like the main dude, and he was learning the trade and learning how to do printing, which was, if you want to make an analogy today, it's like supercomputers back then. Like basically there was only printing press in New York, Boston, later in Philadelphia, where Benjamin Franklin set one up. Of course they were all over Europe, but it was like kind of a big deal back in the day for sure. If you could print newspapers, print booklets, print war propaganda, any type of thing that that wasn't like parchment paper and a fountain pen with a feather on the end. Those were the times we're talking about. So anyways, he was doing that for years, and he always felt undercut, and he always felt like he would get his day, and he would someday rise and be partners with his brother. It never happened. It was kind of like his brother was in charge. His brother, it was kind of like a rivalry there, like a sibling rivalry. And he sensed this was never going to really work out. And he has a famous quote in like Poor Richard's Almanac, which is like another book that he basically wrote that has a lot of famous sayings, like, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But his famous quote I'm talking about is, shine your rays on a new horizon. That was one of the things he had in his head back then. So he took a trip, and this was by boat. We were talking about horse and carriage. He took a boat trip from Boston to Philadelphia. I think they stopped in New York and they picked up or dropped off passengers. But I think it was like a 2-day boat trip just to go from Boston to Philadelphia. So he took the boat out there. It was funny because they lost all his wares. Like, it was mostly books and like some clothes. He was a very plain dude, and he was, he didn't have much clothes and didn't have much personal belongings. But he was really bummed out that they lost all his books. Anyways, so he gets to Philadelphia, and what he's doing is he's scouting it out. It was a new, big city on the East Coast, and he was talking to people there about printing and maybe bringing over a printing press from England, and who could possibly help him do this, and who were the right people to meet that, that could facilitate this. And he's young. This is back when he's like, I think he was like 21 or 24, but he really carried himself in a way that people took notice, and he would sit down, and he would call it, I would sit down to supper with instrumental people from the town in Philadelphia and get to know, civic-minded people that were kind of like, the upper crust of Philadelphia back in the 73, 74. So he's doing this, and he starts working at a printing press, like kind of a not so great one, the only one in town, just like a little one. And he's showing that he's skilled at this. He's showing that he can do this kind of work. He is also a great author, a great writer, a great, he had great command of like the written word. So he started setting roots in Philadelphia and meeting influential people, one of which actually took him under his wing, and it was like an older rich guy, and saw the value in Franklin, that this guy was going somewhere, that this guy could, if I would put up the funds to get this printing press over here from England, I could let Benjamin Franklin run it, and it would no doubt be probably a success. It ended up being the biggest print shop in Philadelphia later on. But so they brought this printing press over by sea from England. This guy basically financed it, went into business with Benjamin Franklin, and they started this huge new printing press that basically was like the best known one in town. They started printing a newspaper, local pamphlets. Back in the day, it was like pamphlets and booklets and little things for the public, and newspapers and whatnot. So, and like I said, he was really civic minded. He would implement certain things that would help the city. He organized downtown early morning street sweeping, which sounds weird, but it really made a difference on Main Street, because there was like horse manure and dirt roads, and everything would blow into the shops, and by like noon everything was like filthy mess. He was really key in like organizing early morning street sweeping. And this is not a machine, this is like guys on a wagon with like horses, and they would all jump off with brooms and sweep the streets. So, every morning that was done, which made a huge difference in keeping the town clean, keeping the doors of the shops open, and basically, in the early days of the U.S., making it civilized. So it wasn't like cowboy town. It was more like Great Britain. He was key in that. And he also organized with the Revolutionary War effort. He was in Pennsylvania, and he'd print a booklet because the colonel, the highest ranking colonel, needed like horses and wagons to help fight the Revolutionary War. And we're talking about Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland. This is like the prime country where all this war and all this fighting, those are all the historic battle scenes is in those states, and others of course in the South. But he organized an effort where he printed pamphlets and sent them out to the farmers saying, look, we'll pay you a certain amount of wage if you can get 4 horses and a wagon, and then basically you get meals and a pay to, not fight, but just like jockey supplies and soldiers around. He organized all that, which was huge. There was like hundreds of people coming from parts of the countryside of Pennsylvania into Philadelphia to, show up for this task. So it was pretty incredible. He was also a millionaire by 1776, like with all this printing and all his civic duties in Philadelphia, which was incredible because he was young, and we're talking about way back when, folks. This is like being a billionaire, to be a millionaire. And he says in the book, he was very plain dressed. He didn't drink. So yeah, being a millionaire back in 1777, 76, that's like a billionaire today. That's amazing to me that he could accomplish all that and be so smart and at a young age and do all the things that he actually did. It says that in the book. And in the book, I just want to say this was like a I gave this one like 4 stars, only because it's written in like an Old English style, kind of like a British style. He talks, it's written by him. He's a great writer. It's very interesting, but to read 2 pages is like reading 4 of a regular book. So I ended up, I enjoyed the book a lot. I gave it 4 stars instead of 5. I don't know, it's no big deal. Probably should have got 4.5, but you can't really do that. But anyways, it was a great book, and I'm gonna get Poor Richard's Almanac on Amazon next, and probably review that one for you guys. I enjoyed the book though.